As we grow older, we start paying more attention to what we eat, often thinking we're making smart choices. But what if I told you that some of the vegetables you've trusted for years might actually be putting silent stress on your heart? Yes, really. Today, we're uncovering 5 vegetables that seniors should stop eating immediately, not because they're bad, but because they can slowly undermine heart health in ways most don't see coming. 1. Canned tomatoes, a silent sodium bomb for the aging heart. Canned tomatoes. They seem harmless enough, don't they? A pantry staple. A shortcut in soups, stews, and sauces. Something that feels familiar and comforting, especially if you grew up in a household where pasta night meant opening a can, simmering it down, and calling it a meal. But for seniors, especially those watching their heart health, this innocent-looking ingredient can quietly wreak havoc. Here's the truth most people don't realize. Canned tomatoes are often loaded with sodium, and not just a sprinkle. We're talking hundreds of milligrams per serving, sometimes even more than your daily recommended amount in a single cup. For a healthy adult, that's not ideal. But for someone over 60 where high blood pressure, weakened arteries, and increased cardiovascular risk become real concerns, it's downright dangerous. Why does this matter so much as we age? Because our bodies become more sensitive to salt over time. The kidneys don't filter sodium as efficiently. Our arteries stiffen. Blood pressure creeps up. And before you know it, that simple bowl of tomato soup turns into a trigger for increased heart strain. It might start subtly, feeling lightheaded, swelling in the ankles, or an elevated reading at your next checkup. But over months and years it adds up. This is what makes canned tomatoes especially risky. They hide that danger behind a veil of health. They're a vegetable, right? Full of lycopene, vitamin C, and fiber. That part is true. But when they're processed and preserved in cans, companies add salt, sometimes excessively, not for flavor, but for shelf life. It's part of the preservation process, a holdover from industrial food manufacturing. And we often unknowingly consume it by the spoonful. A single serving of canned diced tomatoes can contain upwards of 300 to 500 milligrams of sodium. Add a pinch of salt while cooking, maybe a broth cube or some grated cheese, and suddenly you've exceeded 1,000 milligrams in a single meal. Multiply that by several meals a week, and you're putting your heart under chronic stress without even realizing it. Now here's the part that matters most. This is fixable. You don't have to give up tomatoes entirely. Tomatoes themselves aren't the villain here, it's the packaging and processing. Instead, opt for no salt-added versions. These are widely available now and offer all the rich flavor without the sodium overload. Even better, when possible, use fresh tomatoes or roast your own. When you start with the real thing, you control the seasoning. You control the salt. And in turn, you protect your heart. You might wonder, is one can hear or they're really that big of a deal? It's a fair question. And the answer is individually no. But the bigger picture isn't about one can. It's about habit. It's about patterns that repeat across weeks, months, and years. Especially when your heart has already been through decades of life, decades of wear and tear, stress and healing. It deserves to be supported, not strained. So the next time you reach for that can on the shelf, pause. Look at the label. See the sodium. Ask yourself, is this helping me or hurting me? That small moment of awareness could be the difference between maintaining steady blood pressure and creeping toward hypertension. Between aging with energy and aging with exhaustion. Your heart is listening to every bite, every sip, every habit you carry forward. And canned tomatoes, though beloved, may be asking too much of it. If you want to protect your health, safeguard your independence, and continue to feel vibrant in your years ahead, this is where you start. Not with a dramatic overhaul, but with one choice, one label, one swap at a time. And now that we've peeled back the truth behind this pantry favorite, let's move on to number 2, a vegetable you probably eat every day, thinking it's doing you good, when it might be doing the exact opposite. 2. Celery, the crunchy culprit that's not so heart-friendly after all. Let's talk about celery. It's crisp. It's refreshing. And it's the kind of thing most people eat when they're trying to be healthy. A celery stick dipped in peanut butter. A couple of chopped ribs in chicken soup. Maybe even blend it into a green smoothie in the morning. And on the surface, it seems like the perfect food, low in calories, full of fiber, a safe bet. But here's what you might not know. For older adults, especially those keeping a close eye on their blood pressure, celery can actually be a quiet contributor to cardiovascular strain. Now that might sound surprising. After all, celery is just a vegetable, right? But this isn't about fear. It's about awareness. You see, while celery is indeed low in fat and calories, it's also one of the few vegetables that naturally contains sodium, and in amounts that can add up, especially when you're eating it regularly. Let's look at the numbers. One large stalk of celery contains about 50 milligrams of sodium. Doesn't sound like much, does it? But here's the thing. How often do we stop at just one stalk? A bowl of soup might have several. A smoothie blend, a stir-fry, a salad, all those healthy meals might be adding up to several hundred milligrams of sodium in a day, just from celery alone. Now combine that with sodium from bread, cheese, canned goods, condiments, or the salt shaker, and suddenly, you're crossing the American Heart Association's recommended sodium intake of 1,500 milligrams per day for older adults. And what does that mean for your heart? It means your blood vessels tighten, your kidneys work harder, your blood pressure climbs slowly, quietly, and over time the heart, your most faithful muscle, has to push harder with every beat to move blood through narrowed arteries. You may not feel it right away. In fact, most people don't. That's the insidious part. It doesn't come with a sharp pain or flashing warning lights. Comes with fatigue, shortness of breath, that feeling of your heart working just a little too hard for simple tasks. It comes with your doctor saying, "Your pressure's a little high today," more often than not. And here's something else we rarely talk about. Celery in packaged form. You know those pre-cut celery snacks in the plastic trays? Or celery salt in seasoning blends. Even celery powder, which is often used in natural meat preservatives. Those carry even higher levels of sodium, and because they're hidden in processed foods, they quietly contribute to the sodium load without you even knowing it. So what's the takeaway? Should you never touch celery again? Not at all. The key isn't fear. It's balance and intention. Celery isn't inherently bad. It has benefits like antioxidants and hydration. But as you age, and especially if you have a history of high blood pressure, sodium sensitivity, or cardiovascular issues, you need to be smart about how you use it. Here's what you can do. Limit raw celery to 1 to 2 stalks per day, especially if you're already consuming other sodium-rich foods. Watch out for celery-based seasonings or vegetable blends that use celery salt or powder. These can be sodium traps in disguise. Flavor with herbs like rosemary, thyme, parsley, or lemon instead of relying on salt or salty vegetables. If you love celery in soups or stews, consider substituting half the amount with lower sodium vegetables like carrots, leeks, or fennel. And one more thing. Don't let the simplicity of a vegetable trick you into thinking it can't cause harm. In our later years, the body becomes more vulnerable, more reactive to even subtle imbalances. What you could eat freely in your 40s may not serve you in your 70s. That's not a loss, it's a shift. A new season of life that calls for new wisdom. So the next time you crunch into a stalk of celery, enjoy it, but do so with a bit more awareness. Your heart has carried you through every chapter of your life. Give it the attention and care it now quietly asks for. 3. Eggplant, the bitter truth behind this beautiful vegetable. It's glossy, it's elegant, and if you've ever admired a bowl of roasted Mediterranean vegetables or taken pride in a hearty lasagna, you've probably cooked with it. Yes, eggplant. It's a favorite in many kitchens, and often considered a healthy staple. After all, it's low in calories, rich in antioxidants, and undeniably satisfying when prepared well. But here's what most don't know. For seniors, eggplant can quietly inflame the very system you're trying to protect, your heart and blood vessels. Not because of fat, not because of sugar, but because of something far more subtle, nightshades. Eggplant belongs to a family of vegetables known as nightshades, which also includes tomatoes, bell peppers, and white potatoes. For most people, these pose no problem. But as we age, and especially if we deal with chronic inflammation, arthritis, or heart disease, the compounds in nightshades can stir up trouble beneath the surface. The main culprit? A natural chemical called solanine. Solanine is found in all nightshades, but eggplant in particular has one of the highest concentrations. It's a natural defense mechanism the plant uses to deter insects and pests. But in the human body, particularly a body that's aging with a more sensitive immune and digestive system, solanine can increase inflammation. You might be wondering, what does inflammation have to do with heart health? Everything. Inflammation is one of the hidden forces behind arterial plaque, high blood pressure, and oxidative stress, the slow cellular damage that weakens your heart's function over time. For years, doctors believed heart disease was just about cholesterol and fat, but more recent studies have shown that chronic inflammation is a major contributor to cardiovascular decline. Now, let's be clear. Eating eggplant isn't going to cause a heart attack overnight. That's not the story here. The real issue is accumulation. If you're already dealing with high blood pressure, joint pain, fatigue, or even brain fog, eating inflammatory foods regularly, especially without realizing it, can make those symptoms worse. An eggplant, for all its beauty, can be one of those triggers. Symptoms to look out for include a mild burning in the stomach or chest after eating eggplant, stiffness in joints, particularly the next morning, fatigue that seems disproportionate to your activity level, unexplained bloating or digestive discomfort. If any of these sound familiar, and eggplant is a regular part of your diet, it might be time to reconsider how often you include it. So what should you do instead? You don't need to eliminate eggplant completely if you're not sensitive, but moderation and preparation make all the difference. Here are some heart-friendly tips. Always cook eggplant thoroughly. Raw or undercooked eggplant contains higher levels of solanine and other alkaloids. Roasting, grilling, or sautéing helps break them down. Salt it before cooking. This old-school technique isn't just about flavor. Slicing the eggplant and sprinkling it with salt helps draw out some of the bitter compounds, including solanine, before you prepare it. Pay attention to how your body reacts. Everyone is different. Some seniors tolerate nightshades just fine. But if you notice aches, bloating, or spikes in blood pressure after eggplant-heavy meals, that's your body sending a signal. Explore alternatives. Zucchini, mushrooms, and squash offer similar textures in dishes and are generally easier on the aging body. And perhaps the most important takeaway here is this. Just because something is natural doesn't mean it's neutral. As we grow older, our digestion slows, our immunity shifts, and our tolerance for certain compounds can change drastically. Foods that once felt nourishing in your 30s might quietly challenge your system in your 70s. So be curious, be mindful, and know that you're not giving up eggplant. You're gaining clarity. You're giving your body a chance to operate with less resistance, less inflammation, and that means more energy, more mobility, and more peace of mind. There's a time and place for every food, but your body is telling a new story now, and listening to that story is the most loving thing you can do. 4. Raw spinach, a green giant that's not always gentle on your heart. Spinach. It's the poster child of healthy eating, a vibrant leafy green that's made its way into salads, smoothies, omelets, and side dishes across generations. And why not? It's rich in vitamins, high in iron, and backed by decades of health advice that sings its praises. But what if I told you that raw spinach, despite its glowing reputation, could be quietly undermining your heart health, especially in your later years? It's not a scare tactic. It's a matter of understanding how this nutrient-packed vegetable behaves inside the aging body. You see, raw spinach is extremely high in oxalates, natural compounds found in certain plant foods. When consumed in large amounts, especially without balance or awareness, oxalates can cause a buildup of calcium oxalate in the body. Over time, this accumulation may contribute to kidney stones, interfere with calcium absorption, and even strain your cardiovascular system. Now, why is this relevant to the heart? Because calcium plays a vital role in cardiac rhythm and muscle contraction. When oxalates bind with calcium, they prevent your body from using that calcium where it's needed, like in your bones and heart. As a result, your heart may work harder to maintain normal function, particularly if you're already managing conditions like high blood pressure, atrial fibrillation, or valve disorders. There's more. Oxalates don't just interfere with calcium. They can also promote inflammation and oxidative stress when consumed in excess. This kind of low-grade, chronic inflammation is one of the lesser-known but major drivers of atherosclerosis, the hardening of arteries that leads to heart attacks and strokes. For seniors, especially those who've been diligent about eating raw greens for years, this can feel counterintuitive. Isn't spinach good for me? Yes and no. The difference lies in how much and how it's prepared. A small handful of spinach in your salad here and there? Perfectly fine for most. But piling it raw into smoothies every morning, eating large spinach salads daily, or using it as a meal base multiple times a week, that's where it can turn from helper to hindrance. Many older adults also unknowingly exacerbate the issue by combining raw spinach with calcium supplements, believing they're boosting bone health. In truth, the oxalates from the spinach combined with the calcium, preventing absorption and, in some cases, increasing the risk of calcium oxalate deposits in the kidneys or arteries. So what can you do? First, don't panic. This isn't about demonizing a vegetable. It's about empowering your choices with knowledge. Here's how to enjoy spinach without putting your heart at risk. Cook it instead of eating it raw. Lightly steaming or sautéing spinach reduces oxalate content significantly, making it easier on your kidneys and heart. Rotate your greens. Mix things up with lower oxalate options like romaine, arugula, bok choy, or butter lettuce. Variety isn't just the spice of life, it's the safeguard of balance. Pair spinach with vitamin C-rich foods to enhance iron absorption and lessen oxalate interference. A squeeze of lemon or a few orange slices goes a long way. Hydrate well. Water helps flush out excess oxalates and supports kidney function, which indirectly benefits your heart. Talk with your doctor if you've had kidney issues, bone density concerns, or calcium supplementation. It's important to ensure your diet supports, not disrupts your goals. One more note worth remembering: oxalate sensitivity increases with age. What you tolerated at 40 might not be ideal at 70. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. It's your body asking for a gentler, more intentional kind of care. Think of it this way. Your heart has been beating for decades without pause. Every beat, every rhythm, every moment of stress or joy, it's been there, working in the background. Now it deserves more than just good intentions. It deserves attention to detail. And in the case of spinach, the detail is this: cook it, don't drink it raw. 5. Cruciferous vegetables, especially raw kale and broccoli, when clean eating isn't so clean for your heart. Let's take a closer look at one of the most praised categories of vegetables out there: cruciferous vegetables. These include kale, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, foods that dominate health blogs, smoothies, detox diets, and trendy superfood menus. And for good reason. They're rich in fiber, antioxidants, and anti-cancer compounds. They support digestion, help regulate blood sugar, and even assist in detoxification. But for seniors, especially those with thyroid imbalances, sensitive digestion, or existing heart conditions, there's a lesser-known side to these foods. One that's rarely discussed but important to understand: when eaten raw or in excess, cruciferous vegetables can place unnecessary stress on your thyroid and cardiovascular system. Let's break that down. These vegetables contain naturally occurring compounds known as goitrogens. In small doses, goitrogens are harmless. But in larger quantities, especially from raw kale and broccoli, they can interfere with thyroid hormone production. The thyroid, in case you didn't know, is a small gland in your neck that plays a massive role in regulating your heart rate, metabolism, and blood pressure. When the thyroid underperforms a condition known as hypothyroidism, it slows down many of the body's systems. You may feel fatigued, gain weight, or feel cold all the time. But one of the most overlooked consequences is how this affects your heart. A sluggish thyroid can lower your heart rate, reduce cardiac output, and increase LDL, bad cholesterol levels. Over time, this creates a heavier workload for your heart. It's like trying to drive with the parking brake on, not damaging in a moment, but exhausting over miles and years. And here's where cruciferous vegetables can play a tricky role. If you're eating large salads filled with raw kale every day, or juicing broccoli, or adding cabbage slaw to every meal, those goitrogens can quietly inhibit your thyroid's ability to produce the hormones your body depends on. And it's not just about the thyroid. Cruciferous vegetables, particularly when raw, are also high in insoluble fiber and sulfur-containing compounds. For many aging digestive systems, especially those not producing as much stomach acid as they once did, this can cause gas, bloating, and inflammation. And here's something many don't realize, that inflammation doesn't always stay in the gut. It can contribute to systemic inflammation, which we now know is one of the key drivers of heart disease. So what's the bottom line? Cruciferous vegetables are not bad. In fact, they can be incredibly good for you when they're treated right. It's the form, the frequency, and your individual tolerance that matter most. For older adults especially, raw and excessive consumption is where the danger creeps in. Here's how to enjoy them safely. Cook them. Lightly steaming, roasting, or sautéing cruciferous vegetables deactivates most of the goitrogens and makes the fiber easier to digest. Cooked broccoli, for example, is far less likely to disrupt your thyroid or bloat your belly than raw florets. Limit raw kale in smoothies. It's easy to throw a handful in each day and assume you're doing your body a favor. But 2 or 3 handfuls a week is more than enough if you're also getting other greens. Support your thyroid with iodine-rich foods. Seaweed, like nori, eggs, and some seafoods can help balance out the effect of goitrogens. But talk to your doctor before supplementing, especially if you have an existing thyroid condition. Pay attention to how you feel. Do you feel bloated, tired, or foggy after eating kale salads or raw cabbage slaw? That could be your body asking for a gentler approach. Rotate your greens. Instead of relying on kale every day, alternate with spinach, cooked, romaine, arugula, or chard. Variety keeps your body guessing in a good way. Your heart, like your mind, thrives on rhythm, not extremes, not overload, just a steady, thoughtful approach to nourishment. And while cruciferous vegetables have earned their superfood reputation, they're not immune to becoming counterproductive, especially when consumed carelessly or under the illusion that more is always better. Here's the truth. No food, no matter how healthy it seems, exists in a vacuum. Your body is always in conversation with what you feed it. And in your later years, that conversation becomes more nuanced, more delicate. It's no longer about just doing what's trendy. It's about doing what's right for your body in this season of life. So enjoy your broccoli. Love your kale. But love them cooked, measured, and with the full awareness of how they interact with your heart, your hormones, and your health. And there you have it, the 5 vegetables seniors should rethink or just to truly protect the heart that's carried them through a lifetime. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Because a vibrant life in your 60s, 70s, and beyond isn't built on fads or extremes, it's built on thoughtful, informed choices that align with the beautiful, changing body you live in. If you found this helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us keep creating content that empowers you to live with purpose, health, and clarity at every stage of life.